I believed in the power of the technology.
We were so overwhelmed about the lack of connectivity in developing countries.
I'm going to keep working on this. I am not going to give up.
How we are going to face this?
The 2013 farmers' strike here in Colombia, it was a national event. They were trying desperately to demand some conditions because their family businesses were going bankrupt.
They provide so much of the food security for the world. The food that we get from them, it actually bonds society together.
When we were talking to each other, seeing the news, it was crystal clear, how passionate we was about trying to think about a solution.
Food pantries and food banks are extremely focused on their mission of feeding, and investing in technology is not something that's usually part of the programming and the thinking. I came out of the automotive industry, so I know a lot about supply chain, and I know that if we can shorten that window of when we know about food to getting it to a hungry family, it lessens the time that a family has to worry about, am I going to be able to get food for my family?
With my team, we have created an information system for the agriculture industry. We call it Cultivando Futuro in Spanish, or in English means cultivating future. We gather data about the farmers and we show it through statistics or through numbers, so these organizations can have really updated understanding in just a few seconds about what's happening with the rural communities.
We just realized that there's no information about them. So if there's no information about them, of the people, of the communities, of how they produce food, then we just don't care about them.
I helped create a technology platform called Pantry Track. It's used in food pantries all across our region and across the country to help hungry families when they're coming in times of need. For our elected officials and for our folks in industry, they need to understand, what are the lives like of the families we serve? We once shared a simple map with some community leaders here in Columbus. What we saw was that in one of our communities, in the shadow of our new, at the time, $60 million children's hospital, every block of every street that, as far as you could see, our data said there was a hungry family on that street that we had served somewhere in our network. It's really easy to ignore poverty, to ignore hunger, to ignore homelessness, but the data helps set us free from that.
I'm passionate about the rural communities because my grandparents and my parents grew in the countryside. And hearing their family stories, I remember all the struggles they have faced in order to have a profitable business.
1 in 5 of us in the state of Ohio face hunger. That was the statistic prior to COVID. That number's jumped up a little bit. But if 1 in 5 people face hunger, by talking about it and getting people of good conscience together, that means that 4 out of 5 can help. Yeah, the future of agriculture, it's inextricably, obviously, tied to both of the work that both of us do. You make sure that food gets grown, distributed, harvested, and that it goes out and gets to people. And part of my work here in the US is to make sure that food that would otherwise go to waste or food that is in excess can get to people who are hungry.
We have seen the different problems that farmers have to face in their context. For example, we were talking about a lack of connectivity.
How did you get internet connectivity and roll out a technology platform in a rural farming environment?
Yes, so we don't have it. Like, we don't have internet connectivity here in rural areas in Colombia, in so many towns, in so many farms. And the secret, well, it's not a secret, it's more about an innovation.
If a farmer is looking for a wholesale buyer for their crop, they can easily communicate us, like how many product they will be harvesting in kilos or in tons, when, for example, next week, and then we can connect them with wholesale buyers. Also, we have been working with municipalities where we collect farmers' data and provide this information to municipalities so they could formulate rural development plans.
So we are translating this digital information into phone calls, into SMS messages. We are very proud to say that we are collecting information as you were giving information to a friend.
One of the big things that we started doing is connecting the people that have the need directly into our digital platform. That's something that we actually started this year. The COVID crisis made it critical for us to create a digital connection to the people. I talked to one of my colleagues at the Greater Cleveland Food Bank just last night. He had over 3,000 cars show up at the Muni lot in Greater Cleveland.
We were serving twice as many new households as we were same time last year. Being able to then slice and dice up who these new people were allowed us to reach out via text message to these families and give them surveys and try to learn more about what was leading them to our door and the doors of our partners.
How can we take this technology, couple it with a little bit better information and direct connection to the customers? What if we're texting the customers and saying, hey, is there a better place than you all driving towards us? And can we bring the food to you? The folks that are needing food, they could use a better job. They could use more education. They could use a better opportunity. So my view for the next 10 years is how do we use that technology to connect everybody that needs help to everybody that can provide that help. And that's a big dream of mine, certainly.
Seeing your project and seeing like what I'm doing too, like it's providing about visibility or providing a voice, for example, in my case to farmers, in your case, like to these families, to show like the potential that is in the supply chain. Collecting this information and providing it can like change the mind of people.
Trying to even talk to our elected officials. I'll be curious, if you've had to speak to your government officials about, and inform them.
Yes, that's something that I have been trained myself, like since the beginning of building this company. It's about, okay, so I have this solution, a few resources, I have proven it, I have these small results, but it's working and it's working better every time. And people, it's getting more traction. And for example, I started like from scratch, from zero farmers. And now up to date, we have more than 3,200 farmers registering the platform.
So we are very proud of saying that we have co-created this system with smallholder farmers.
And it's crazy like how the food, like most of times, it's being harvested, taken by middlemen to the cities, and then like the people, the wholesale buyers in the towns go to the food centrals in the cities, purchase this food and bring them back into the community. So you can see like how data and information can help to transform these mistakes, because there's a lot of inefficiency and lack of information.
One of the things that I wholeheartedly believe is that we can use big data for big good. We, very specifically harness the knowledge and the information that we get. So at one level, absolutely, we're connecting that hungry person all the way back to the farmer and to the grower to make sure that food goes to the highest and best use.
I think like our work is very valuable, like to bring this information and to say like, so this is happening, like almost like a journalist that brings like some insights to politicians.
One of the other things that comes out of this data, we've been able to overlay this information from Pantry Track with the redlining maps
specifically in Columbus, Ohio, the redlining map from 1936. And it drew boundaries of where white people and non-white people could live. And sure enough, what we saw is that where we had institutionally concentrated poverty and inequity 80 years ago, those areas were still the areas that were being lit up heavily with the data from pantry track usage. My greatest hope is that 80 years from now, those maps will finally have changed, and that will be the greatest accomplishment. I won't be here to see it, but I can absolutely hope that that is our legacy from this work, that maybe my work and the work of others can undo what was done with the simple stroke of a red pen in 1936.
Well, I don't know if that happens to you, but I sometimes I've doubted of myself, and if I'm really qualified to solve this huge problem, it's overwhelming.
You know, you and I each have to get up in front of our teams of people or the communities we talk to, and we have to be that strong voice. But inside us, we're just a couple of guys who had good ideas and could talk about it passionately.
Sometimes you talk about technology and you become like very technical about it, but there are some two concepts that are not technical about. It's about communication and cooperation.
The Norwegian Nobel Committee has decided to award the Nobel Peace Prize for 2020 to the World Food Programme for its efforts to combat hunger.